What is up, people of the Bat family? Welcome to a brand new the Batman video. Yeah, I've got my coffee. Today, you may know that we are doing a big nerd out for the Batman. I posted to my community tab for you guys to just unleash any question related to the trilogy, to the freaking prequel Gotham PD show, which has recently had Terrence Winter leave. That's not good. To just about anything. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to just try and answer as many of your questions as I can. You guys submitted a lot of them. It's been a little while since there's been any tangible Batman updates for the movie. So hey, let's just dive into a whole bunch of discussion. So starting with question 1, getting straight into this is from SNP Productions. How important do you think the relationship between Batman and Jim Gordon be to the overall plot of the film? As for their relationship, you know, because you're framing it in such a way, like, how important is their relationship going to be to the overall plot? I think fairly important, because this is a Batman, you know, without me getting into all of the similar stuff I always say every video, in his early days, in his vigilante, you know, he's not recognized by the city to be the overall knight and protector of Gotham. I think that is very integral to the relationship of Bruce and Jim. In this movie, I think the film may very well start off with them already knowing each other in terms of their relationship not being at where it would be at in the comics, if you know what I mean, but also not at the same point of, oh, I've only just met you. It's very possible it could start off that way, but just judging by the fact that in the trailer, you know, we have the Riddler addressing that card to the Batman, and he's like, this doesn't mean anything to me, what does it mean to you, or something like that, where Jeffrey Wright, you know, passed the card to the Batman, and we have Robert Pattinson, you know, engulfing in the suit the frame of the camera. So that tells me they're already familiar with each other. I don't know if he would quite literally just get the vigilante of the Bat off the streets just to do a consultation on that very crime scene if he never met him before. So I think there must be some kind of relationship. This is Batman Year 2, don't forget, so he has been out there for a while. They've come across each other before. So long story short, how important is that to the overall plot of the film? I think fairly important. Without Jim and the resources of the GCPD through him and just kind of liaising between each other, you know, I think it could be quite a different film. And we have those scenes where he's in the GCPD, even Jeffrey Wright's Jim Gordon slams him against the side of this cage in this, I don't know, interrogation room or whatever it seems to be. So yeah, I can't wait to see those two together. Next question is from Jonathan Hill. Do I think that we're going to see Dick Grayson in this movie? I've got a lot of questions like this. Maybe the Flying Graysons, and in Batman 2, do you think Dick will be in it as Robin? So I've spoke about this a lot in live streams, and maybe I've touched upon it here and there in several different videos, but I couldn't recite that to you now. Maybe you've heard me talk about it before, but let's discuss it right now. Dick Grayson, or just a Robin in the Batman. Do I think we're going to see Dick Grayson in this movie? To answer that question very simply, it's possible that we will see Dick Grayson in this movie, but it might be done in such a way, as you said in your example, the Flying Graysons. However, I do not expect a Robin. I do not expect a freaking Robin going around with the Batman. Now, I did screenshot quite a few other questions, but they might be in, like, yeah, how would you approach introducing a Robin or other members of the Bat family? And that's from M. Looney. Maybe there's some other ones, but there's quite a lot about Robin. So let's answer those all at once and just get all my thoughts flushed out with that. So yeah, we could see Dick Grayson. It could be done in such a way where there's the Flying Graysons, but do I think that this Batman in Year 2, Bruce Wayne being 31 years old, as Robert Pattinson is around that age, but you know, they could still age him up or down for the role, most likely down, if anything. No. This Batman is such a newbie Batman. I mean, don't get me wrong, you wouldn't want to meet him in a street at all. I think the trailer demonstrates that enough. But would he be running around with Robin? No. I've always said when it comes to the overall, and just answering the other questions, you know, how would I approach a Robin? If you're going to do a Robin, this could be the first time they do a Robin where it's not, like, aged up. So, for example, what I mean by that is, you know, Titans, you know, in the comics, for example, Nightwing, well, Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing around 19 to 20 years old, literally around that age. But in this show, when you bring it to live-action television, you've got Brenton Thwaites, who's 30, 31, and he becomes Nightwing at that age, which is why Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne is a little bit older in the Titans TV show as well, and that's why a lot of people take the mickey out of that casting. It's like, old man Bruce Wayne. But really, if you look at it, the way they're portraying it, because a lot of times the opinion is seeing a little 12-year-old, 13-year-old Robin wouldn't really work in the R-rated thing. Maybe in a kick-ass kind of way, but not in the way you're probably thinking from literal comic panels to screen. However, they could do it for the first time, or attempt to do it, in the Reeves trilogy. Now, I've got several ideas about this. You would have to get an actor who could be kind of aged down to a high school role. And I found a very interesting suggestion in a voice chat on my Discord server yesterday. Can't remember who said it. I do apologize right now. That's a little plug as well. Join the Discord, my Discord server, in a top pin comment, because I do love talking to you guys there. Dylan Minnette, for example. This is, some of you may not like that choice, but I think Dylan Minnette is insanely talented. Let's just say he's Dick Grayson. Some of you might not see that, but I really do feel he has the acting chops to play a Robin at the very least. He could be aged down to be a high school role. So as I'm trying to iterate here, you're not going to get a Robin who's 13. You're just not going to see that with Robert Pattinson's Batman. It wouldn't... I know we would love to see it, but I still feel like the suspension of disbelief of bringing a 13-year-old around with you in Gotham fighting crime in the way that Reeves is approaching those combat scenes, as we've seen from the trailer, just isn't realistic. Unless, as I said, it's in a satirical comedy sense like Kick-Ass, Kick-Ass 1 or Kick-Ass 2. You get my point. However, Dylan Minnette gets someone his age and then blend him down to the high school role, because that's how old he was meant to be in, we get actors who are aged down, but they're really in their 20s, you know what I mean? They play a high school role, they're not really that age in real life. Could imagine someone like Dylan Minnette going around with Robert Pattinson as Batman and Robin, and that would be a really interesting way to do things. But I still think, no matter what, if anything, what way you introduce Dick Grayson, whether it's in the first film or it's just a cameo, it's an Easter egg to the Flying Graysons, or in the second movie, I wouldn't want him to come into the Batcave or just look at his own suit right until the end of the second movie. And then the third movie can be something like Batman and Robin with whatever villain or whatever story you want to tackle. But for the first two movies, we can't have Robert Pattinson's Batman having a Robin. But yeah, I think that's my overall consensus. I don't have a problem with them doing it, but unfortunately it does need to be aged up a little bit, just because the translation from comic book panel aged Robin to bringing that to a live action adaptation, trust me on this, it just wouldn't really work that well. I know some of you may disagree with that, but I think the compromise is to get an actor who's in his 20s, age him down to 15, 16, 17 tops, and then you'll get away with a Robin. All right, next question is from Bubs2000. Nice name. I want to know how Bruce is connected to the Riddler's scheme. Now, yet again, another question where there's kinds of, related questions that other subscribers are asking here. It's to do with the Court of Owls, but I think I'll kind of re-answer this question later, more specifically in terms of court-related stuff. But how is Bruce connected to the Riddler's scheme? With or without court? You can just say corruption. I think it's quite likely that Reeves is going to make one of the Waynes, if not both of them, but at the very least one of them, linked to the corruption of Gotham. I think no matter what, before I go into the Court of Owls tangent, most people need to understand that Gotham is corrupt with or without the Court of Owls. Like, there's still a whole corruption story you could do, let's just say, if the Court of Owls never existed. So what I'm trying to convey there to you is that they could still do a whole corruption story with Bruce linked to it somehow, unbeknownst to him, because he's had his parents up on a pedestal, and that's probably how they portrayed themselves in public, and often are portrayed realistically so, because they are good people in a lot of iterations. But in also a lot of iterations, despite the public things they may do that is good, they are kind of still low-key, sometimes corrupt, even if they are still low-key at the center of their heart good people. And, whether you've played Batman Telltale or seen many different iterations of that, it's quite an interesting story, even though you get other people on the fence just saying, Wayne's corrupt, blah, 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 not again. So I do think that the Riddler knows it is possible, with the end of that trailer where he says, "You're a part of this too," and then Bruce Wayne says, "How am I a part of this?" And then Riddler replies, "You'll see," or if I'm paraphrasing correctly there. So I think Riddler might know Bruce Wayne's identity is Batman, or vice versa, Batman is Bruce Wayne, without going into the rabbit hole of why wouldn't he just expose him. Well, sometimes villains just don't care about that. They're more interested in their own thing, and the Riddler's thing in this is to try and obviously stop the corruption, but through extreme methods that normal people just wouldn't do. So I think he wants to use Batman as a tool, especially if he is slowly revealing to him that, hey mate, by the way, I know you're after me, But maybe you'll come around to my side when you realize your parents were a part of this. And then that's where he will kind of use Batman as his own tool. But that doesn't mean that Batman won't still stop Riddler if he's even given an arm's length to grab him. Like, of course he will. But my overall, concluding thoughts here is that the Bruce is connected to Riddler's scheme because I think through the grand kind of plot that he'll find out within Gotham in a long Halloween sense, but also just grander corruption with his parents linking with it, he'll realize that his family was deeply rooted in there, and it'll make him question everything. And I can't wait to see that, because for the Riddler to be this Batman's first proper Rogues Gallery interaction, that's quite a psychological thing to confront for him. I mean, think about it. Batman Year 2, yeah, sure, he could beat up some thugs, but he's still a bit of a noob, and his first villain is the intellectual mastermind Riddler. Yeah, this is why this movie's got to get into a psychological freaking casserole of a dish, mate. Next question is the movie Raider. So, you know how Man of Steel ended with us seeing Clark Kent walking into the Daily Planet and becoming the Clark Kent we recognize? Could The Batman potentially end with Bruce Wayne stepping out of a limo and onto a red carpet event as the eccentric Bruce Wayne billionaire playboy we know? Yeah, I think that's very possible, because this Bruce, it's quite known that he hasn't mastered the mask and the true identity. For example, a lot of people are saying, why is he just standing there all serious like in the cathedral, staring at the district attorney with the letter? You know what scene I'm on about. That's not something Bruce would do, because it's kind of obvious. Why is that guy standing there and everyone else is running out? That's a bit of a flaw, right? But this guy has got so much to learn. Like we've already been over in this video, or I've been over a shite ton in my other videos. He's got a lot to learn. He's got a lot to master. He's got a lot to develop. But it'd be cool by the end of the video, because this is The Batman. I think that title is very prominently there to just demonstrate and depict that this movie is about forging the Batman. He may already be the Batman in the costume, but that doesn't mean he's kind of earned his own title, his own mantle, and that would be by the end of the movie. So what I would like, just expanding on what you just said there, the very end of Man of Steel Way is if they do a gargoyle shot, if by the end he's been through everything, he's bagged and tagged the Riddler kind of thing, and he's just looking over city to be that kind of Dark Knight protector of Gotham in a very cool gargoyle shot, and then it also parallels a scene right after that, or at the same time. Who knows what they do? This probably isn't going to happen, but who knows? As you said, with Bruce Wayne stepping out, and maybe he's just done something in the wake of all of this crap and chaos that Riddler has caused, like donating or he's opening this kind of new Wayne sponsored thing where he gets out the car and everybody is raving about Bruce Wayne, but really, something pops up on the news, and that's where it might zoom in his face because he's about to put the cowl back on. I don't know. That would be like a really cool ending. I think no matter what, the ending will kind of try and encapsulate the fact that he has become the Batman now, which is the very title, vengeance, whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah, cool ideas, and I would love to know what you guys would think is your perfect ending. Next question's from Noah Buxton. How do you think the tone of this movie will differ from that of the Nolan films? Now, yet again, another kind of question that a lot of people ask about just kind of capturing the line from the comics to just grounding it as much as the Nolan trilogy and adding kind of fantastical elements in. I don't even like to use fantastical for villains like Clayface, or just ones that aren't or wouldn't have been in the Nolan trilogy, but you get my point. So how will the tone of this movie differ? I think the tone will be even more Gotham-y than what Nolan did in the second and third movie, because I feel like in the first movie, when they featured the Narrows in that, it was a very good Gotham vibe, but then they just kind of went all out Chicago, modern day. I feel like this tone will be very grounded. It's going to be a Batman without all the Ben Affleck kind of gadgets or fantastical Arkham Knight kind of gadgets, if you know what I mean. However, I do think that Matt Reeves will blur the line of being grounded in a similar Nolan perspective, but also introducing villains. Like, for example, if he was to do Bane like Nolan did Bane, it won't just be a guy like Tom Hardy. He will actually use the Venom tubes. I truly believe Matt Reeves will try and really add in comic book villains like Clayface. I'm not saying he's going to do Clayface, but like Bane with Venom tubes, where he actually gets bigger, but also make that as realistically grounded and believable as possible. Not like a massive CGI shite fest that just doesn't work out, completely suspends the tone you were going for. It will have to be like the first, like actual comic book Batman on screen that doesn't look cheesy or doesn't look too, you know, CGI. That I feel like he's got to really try and attempt that, because there's a lot of villains like that miss out on the kind of spotlight because, oh, we can't do Clayface or we can't do a real Killer Croc, making him like a proper Arkham Killer Croc, because that would just make the whole movie look stupid. It won't fit the tone. Let's make Bane without the Venom tubes, and that way we can do Bane. But then you never make the other half of the audience happy, who would have actually wanted to see more of a actual proper approach like they do in the comics, where he has Venom tubes, he gets bigger. So, I don't know. With that, though, Matt Reeves is going to have to be very, very careful about his decisions. Like, if he's got to do more villains like Poison Ivy, that might be a bit easier than doing Clayface, because if you try to do Clayface, unless the kind of interpretation is something unlike I Can't Even Imagine right now, where it actually is done very, very easily, if you just do a Batman the Animated Series Clayface or whatever, it would come across a bit like that doesn't really look like the Gotham world that you were building with Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne and the vision you had at all. It just looks like this is way too comic booky now. I don't know if I'm articulating this well, but I think Matt will, that's how it will differ. He will actually, in the second and third movie, give us a character that will be comic book accurate in every way and not altered like Nolan did with Bane, for example. Next question is from the Gallifreyan Knight. What are your hopes for the opening sequence? In a very similar style to the opening of the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, we have a point of view shot of Caesar hunting. That would be awesome. With the footage we've already seen for the Batman, I remember reading this earlier. I thought it's a good vision. I think the perfect opening would be a point of view shot of Batman in the rain with a slow pan out revealing he is hunting the Penguin. This would then lead to the drugs bust and the Batmobile chase sequence as seen in the trailer. I'm totally on board with that. I know what you mean. It's jumping right into the action, more or less, and that won't be rushing it for those who instantly think, wait, I don't know about that. No, not at all. Don't be under any false kind of pretenses here. Like Matt Reeves has already said, he's in year 2. We're not having like a masking up Peter bit by the spider or Bruce falling down the well and a load of bats. Like maybe that will be done in flashbacks at some point or reference to, but this Batman's already knee deep in it. He's still got a lot to learn, but he's knee deep in it. So I 100% agree with the Gallifreyan Knight here. Sorry, just my monitor is about to turn off. In that, you know, that sequence in the trailer could very well be the beginning of the movie. He could literally, like I'm showing on screen right now, he could be looking down, you see the side of his cowl, and then you see Penguin at these kind of docky kind of areas doing his thing, and then Batman, it gets into that scene where you see the Batmobile light up, that kind of thing. That would be a really cool way to start off the film. You give the audience an essence of what this Batman is like, hardcore, slapping up kind of right in the first 2 minutes of the movie. And also just the tone. You're instantly going in there with the rain, as you said. It's dripping down the cowl. You get an essence of the terrifying fear from certain villains like Penguin and his goons. It would be a really cool way to start it off. And then you bleed into the other elements of the film, because that beginning gives you an introduction of this new vigilante doing his thing, but it is before the Riddler sends his first letter. So the next day you may have Bruce, some scenes with Alfred after this initial scene that the Gallifreyan Knight proposed here, that are in the very trailer that you can see so for yourself. And then like it might get to the point of where you get that scene in the trailer where Jeffrey Wright gets Batman in the crime scene. You see all the federal agents there as well as police officers as he's walking throughout, and they're all kind of looking at him with disdain, distrust, you name it, fear. And that's where the real main plot of the film starts, where he looks at the note, it's got the clue on it, it's got the cipher, that kind of thing. But an opening sequence where it's just Batman on a night out doing his thing, and it happens to be with the Penguin, he might get away, that would be awesome. That would be such a cool way to start the flipping movie, and I really want that now. Also some internal dialogue going on, or like a monologue of Robert Pattinson just doing like a Batman ego, which Matt Reeves really did say there's major inspirations from Batman ego in this movie, where it's kind of like a noir driven, you know, it's like, so I was on the rooftop and then the Penguin was, obviously it wouldn't be like that. but you know what I mean. So Shaka Phillips says, similar in The Dark Knight, where Bruce goes to Hong Kong to capture Lau, will this version of Batman operate outside of Gotham? It's obviously impossible to answer that definitively, but I hope not. I don't see why that's necessary. The only times that would pop up in my mind is if Reeves wants to give, as I said, I don't think there's going to be true origin montages here of him training around the world, but there could be like flashes or like, you know, I don't know, just some really quick thing, but I don't think there would be any instance of him doing that. I don't want to see that personally. Keep it all grounded within Gotham. Next question from Braden Hill. Boba, I've been asking this for a year now. I'm sorry if that's been on other Q&A things or live streams. And I just want to know if you think that they'll introduce the Matches Malone persona in this film, seeing as how Bruce has been seen going undercover in a way. Love the content. Keep up the great videos. Thank you, Braden. Yes, maybe. They may not say it in name, but 100,000%. Like those set photos that, like Bruce in this film, like Matt Reeves is going comic accurate. He has an underworld persona. It may just be an anonymous person, like an identity where they don't explicitly say, I'm Matches Malone, where Bruce actually interacts with the underground. I think this is more of his crowd blend-in mode. He's got balaclava above his face. He's got his backpack on. He's literally got his freaking hood up. So I don't know if they're gonna outright say Matches Malone, but like you can basically say this is the closest we'll ever get to that. So Flix asks, what do you think the Batman's new suit will look like, and could it be based off the Arkham games? And I think there was another question similar to that. Will we get another suit in this film from Earth Zero? It's possible. It is possible. I've been over this before with some supposed leaks and whatnot, but I don't know. It's obviously inevitable he's going to get a new suit. Like that cowl may be upgraded to a more metallic, like reminiscent of what his chest armor is made out of, rather than just a leather. I love the cowl. I really do love the cowl. Its shape is perfect in every detail, other than just the material. It bothers me. If he got shot in the head, he would have had his head blown off. In this scene here, when he got shot in the chest, if they aimed higher, gone. You know what I mean? So that's an issue, a little bit of an issue. But I think the armor and the suit just looks perfect as it is. But it's obviously we'll get another one. Maybe the next one will have the addition of a chin strap. But in this film, I'm still so 50-50 on that. It could get destroyed. It could get damaged in the explosion blast, where he's literally face to face with the district attorney in the cathedral, and then he gets blown back. But then again, like that might withstand the blast. It really might. Like the shockwave might have just sent him back. It doesn't mean that it's cracked anything in his armor or anything. So he will 100% get a better suit in the movies, but I don't know if it will be in the first one, because this suit looks really sweet. Do they really want to develop a whole other suit just for this movie? I feel like he's going to be in it in at least 3/4 of the movie, but I could be wrong. I really could be, because they only shot around 30% of the film from the footage we saw in the trailers. So that's 70% of potential in-studio, behind-the-scenes, closed-off footage that we haven't seen where, oh, he's actually got the new suit on. If I was to place money on it, I would say new suit in the second movie, and he keeps like this suit for the whole of the first movie. At the very most, he might be teasing at the end of the movie when the series of events are over that he's got a new cowl in the background, because what I love about the Batcave they've gone for, you can see Bruce is tinkering with several different projects with Alfred in the background, like modifying the car, like probably making batarangs and whatnot. And in fact, I don't even think he has batarangs in this movie initially. He has those ninja throwing spikes on his gauntlets here, but I don't think he's even thought to fashion him into a bat symbol. So this is what I mean. This is how kind of early we're at. And I would be completely fine with that freaking badass suit we've got in the movie for a little bit longer yet, even if it's until the second movie. As for what it could be, sorry to answer this part late, will it look like it could be based off the Arkham games with the new iteration of the suit? No, I don't think they're going to get too mega technical. I still feel like it's going to be a homemade look. It might just be a bit more perfected. So for example, the current suit, he will have the actual, instead of straps here, giving the kind of illusion of the blades he has in the comics, there will actually be blades. The cowl will be more harder and durable material. It may even have a chin strap. The bat emblem here may be replaced from the little kind of half of the gun that a lot of people have the theory of, or whatever you believe it to be, a removable batarang, which I really don't think it is. Fair enough if it is, but whatever. That will be replaced with an actual symbol, even though I love the poetry that they've included here with, if that is like a modified version of the gun that he's sharpened into like the symbol of a bat, That is really cool, and I wish that would stay. But yeah, just subtle differences like that. Next question is from Darth Revan. Do I think that the Court of Owls will be used or set up in any way in this movie? This is hard to answer because who knows if they are the overarching plot of the trilogy. Because as I said earlier, very specifically, Gotham is corrupt with or without the Court of Owls. There's more than enough stories to go for multiple movies about corruption without their level of corruption being involved. However, I don't know. I really don't know, because without repeating myself too much from earlier, you could have the Court of Owls being involved, and that is how the Waynes are involved in the corruption. Maybe one of them, because the Court of Owls are made up from Gotham's elite, you know, maybe one of the Waynes, like Thomas, or maybe both of them were court members. And that might be the mystery that Robert Pattinson's Bruce is learning about in this movie. However, I'm quite sticking to my guns on this in how that Gotham is really just corrupt. Riddler's exposing that, and that doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with the Court of Owls. Quite literally, I've done a whole video debunking this, really. I'll leave that in the cards above or at the end card of this video. The only thing in the trailer to go off that is Court of Owls referenced is the card. There's no little, like, you can't tell that little statue bust in the background is an owl mask. All of those, I respect the theories and speculation, but those other channels or YouTube videos that say stuff like that, that evidence doesn't contribute to anything because you can't tell. The only thing we have got to go off is the card. And I'm pretty sure the Court of Owls aren't subtly putting in subliminal messages like that into Halloween gift cards. Do you know what I mean? I know the court like to be out and about everywhere and always watching, but that's not the way to go about it. So I do think that is an Easter egg. I'm never going to rule out their involvement, but that is the only thing we have to go off from anything we've got out of the Batman. So just with the evidence we have, and the only thing being the card cover, do I think they'll be set up in this movie? Probably not, but maybe they could be, because it's not like I've read the whole script of the movie. Do I think, this is from Pug Ninja, do I think that Robert Pattinson is a good pick for Batman Bruce Wayne? Yes. This actor has so much range. Watch his other movies. He is incredibly talented. He puts a lot of effort into his craft. He's probably one of the more respectable actors today in terms of, like, if you pick him for a role, the range that he will offer in his just acting ability is to the point where you differentiate, okay, that's the same human playing that, but I don't recognize him. Whereas you do have other actors who quite literally do kind of play themselves in every role. People may love and enjoy that, but there's no true range. Like, he is good. I think he looks like Bruce Wayne. I think he's going to embody Bruce Wayne from what we've seen of him in the suit and as Batman. Jesus, he is Batman. So I think he's a perfect casting. If you go back to my videos way back when we had the rumors of like John Hamm or like Robert Pattinson, who would I pick? I was straight up like Pattinson. Trust me. So Aiden Castillo says, hey Boba, I love your videos so much. Thank you, dude. What kind of role do I think Andy Serkis's Alfred will play in the movie? Do you think he will have a big role or a small role? Good question. In terms of the last bit, it's really hard to say if Alfred will have a big role or a small role. I think it'll be like a intermediate role, you know? I think the scenes that he will have, and what I mean by intermediate is like he won't be in there all the time, but the scenes that he will have will be very powerful, I'm sure, and doing very Alfred-y things. Like whenever he's in the Batcave, I'm pretty sure Alfred will be there, and there's probably going to be quite a few scenes like that. And the role that I think Andy Serkis will play, and I've iterated this a lot of times, is the more modern approach to Alfred. We've been used to seeing him be portrayed as the frail old butler, which, you know, no knocking towards that at all. We all love Michael Caine and the other versions like that. However, in modern days with like Sean Pertwee from the TV show Gotham, you have a much more hands-on, youthful Alfred, who is still the old man Alfred, but like kind of middle-aged, where he can be hands-on. He can be more of an older brother, like an older brother of like an age gap of 15 years. Do you know what I mean? Relationship rather than a parental granddad kind of relationship. So Andy Serkis, in a similar way to how Sean Pertwee is my favorite live-action Alfred in Gotham, will be a lot more hands-on. I think he would have helped Bruce build the Batmobile. I think he would have helped him with his arm. I think that he did so much. It's hard to say what role he will play. I think there's going to be some commentary on Bruce's methods. Maybe he'll be quite supportive of Batman, but also disapproving in maybe the way he approaches being Batman, because this is very early days. Lots of mistakes are going to be made. Maybe there's rookie mistakes where he comes back and Alfred is kind of angry with Bruce. And I do feel like Andy Serkis will really fulfill this younger Alfred, but not like Pennyworth TV show young Alfred, obviously not that young, but you know, the type that I'm on about, where he kind of looks after Bruce still, but you can imagine him doing like a one punch to Bruce, even though he shouldn't be able to get away with that, but you can imagine him punching like Andy Serkis, like, you know, his look in Black Panther, like you can imagine him throwing a punch at Robert Pattinson. I feel like he wouldn't be afraid to do that. Whereas with Michael Caine, you wouldn't imagine that, because you feel like in his punch that he would throw, his shoulder would dislocate. And from Captain Kirk, hey Boba, was wondering, do you believe we will see the trauma of what Bruce is experiencing after just a few years of him being Batman, as in this time he's dealing with a brash and unrefined form of vigilante justice? 100%. I feel like there will be an essence of what Telltale did in their Batman game series will be explored in this film. Yeah, what do I think? I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of that in this movie, you know, without repeating myself too much, as I keep saying, because I've gone on about the vibe of this Batman, where he's at psychologically, which is something they're very heavily focusing upon. If you read Batman Ego, it's very within that realm. I think he could even get close to killing in this movie. I don't know if they're going to do that, just to point out the example of how he won't kill, but I think, as you said, like, the amount of punches he gave that guy in the trailer is quite demonstrative of where he's at. It won't necessarily be spoken about, this trauma we see this early Batman go through, where it's like, I'm feeling like this because I feel like this, and I'm going to fight back and become Batman like this. I think it'll be explored through doing and practicality, rather than a discussion of trauma with Alfred or something. I think, yeah, we're going to very much so see that visually done through his actions. The reason why he's put the suit on, he's in year 2 now, but he's so driven because of what he wants to accomplish, which I don't think he even quite knows himself. Like, it's as Matt Reeves said, he has his shadow self. Man, I could talk about this forever, but I have gone over this in some other videos, which I'll leave, yet again, links down in the description below and in the cards above. I'm going to call this the last one. There's a lot more questions, but this video is going to go on forever, but let me know if you want to see a part 2. Saud Khalid asks, do you think that the Joker does exist in this movie, or maybe he will have an appearance in the sequel or the third? Oh yeah, 100% at some point. And who is your fan cast of the character? I would love to know. He could have already been created, and there's a whole, if you've been watching my previous coverage, theory with the drops, maybe that is Joker's early kind of thing. The drops referring to those droplets that people are using in Gotham. The citizens are getting addicted. It seems to be some kind of eye drop that people use to get high, whether it's to do with Mad Hatter or Scarecrow or Joker. It's anyone's pick, really. Joker could have already been created. We're in Batman Year 2. Maybe in similar iterations before, just like how Batman has created him for him falling in the chemical vat. He washes up after a couple of months. That's when he appears. However, doesn't mean that at this point Batman realizes that this guy's washed up and then done that crazy thing with his laugh. Do you know what I mean? That could be happening in the second or third movie, and there'll be a flashback to Batman Year 1, maybe, if that makes sense, with how he was created before, but we just don't see it in this movie because he's in Year 2. It's really hard to say. I think it is likely that in this version, since they're starting with the ball already rolling, Joker could be out there, but just not the Joker, just like how the Batman isn't quite the Batman yet. However, he could be created. It could be done in a traditionalist kind of way, yet the Joker's origin isn't really an origin. The chemical vat, no matter what, isn't the origin. It's just a popular, most referred to origin of the multiple choice kind of thing. And you know, it's interesting because I did get asked another question from somebody who wants to know my pick. I'm a very indecisive person. My thoughts always run at a million miles per hour, so I really do have difficulty deciding things like this. So Ben Hayward here asks, who would I pick to play the Joker out of these actors? Johnny Depp, Willem Dafoe, Joe Gilgan, Robert Sheehan, Jake Gyllenhaal, and is there anyone else? I'm surprised you didn't mention Bill Skarsgård, just because everyone seems to do that, and I probably would have picked him. I would pick Willem Dafoe. The only reason I wouldn't is because he's waited too long for the role. I'm not saying he has, but age has caught up with him where that Joker would be a bit too old for the Batman that we have. And out of the others, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, man. I'm gonna have to think about this really long and hard. I think Bill Skarsgård could easily pull it off, but he's too typical to be cast for that, with his roles usually being quite creepy. Robert Sheehan, yeah, I could see it. Maybe it will be someone like him who people wouldn't necessarily expect as much. Jake Gyllenhaal, he could pull it off, but I feel like that's in another parallel timeline. I don't know why, I just feel like he wouldn't be picked for the role. But everyone, I'm going to end this video here because I've been talking for a long time according to my Audacity that I'm recording, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of Q&A discussion for the Batman 2022. Let me know if you want to see another part to this. Let me know just your thoughts on what I had to say about the several different questions I answered in this video. I'm sure you have a lot of input on my input and vice versa. Really appreciate a like. Make sure you subscribe for more updates on the Batman, of course. Follow me on Twitter. Links, as always, are in the top pinned comment, as well as other places to support me. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, Bat Family, in the next video. Goodbye.